The village of Dawnfield lay cradled in a valley cut through by a river of crystal waters, a place where time seemed to flow more gently. Its houses, with terracotta roofs and whitewashed walls, lined narrow cobbled streets, and the only sounds breaking the quiet of the afternoon were the distant hammering of the blacksmith and the laughter of children running free. It was a world untouched by haste, where life was woven from the threads of community and the rhythm of the seasons. At the highest point of the village, overlooking the entire valley, stood a house unlike any other. It was an imposing structure of stone and fine timber, its glass windows catching the last glimmers of the setting sun, a rare and extravagant luxury. This was the home of Elias, the wealthiest man in Dawnfield, perhaps in the whole region. His fortune, amassed through a lifetime of relentless work and shrewd dealings, had become legend. But the house, so magnificent from the outside, held a silence as heavy as lead, a void no treasure on earth could ever fill. On an autumn afternoon, when fallen leaves painted the ground in shades of gold and crimson, a young man named Samuel knocked at the great oak door. His eyes shone with ambition and awe. To him, Elias was the very pinnacle of success. He dreamed of following the same path, building an empire, earning the respect and admiration of all. A bent-shouldered servant led him to the master's chamber, where Elias rested. The room was vast and opulent. Rugs from faraway lands covered the floor, and carved dark-wood furniture stood in quiet grandeur. Yet the air was dense, steeped in the sharp scent of medicinal herbs and something heavier: loneliness. Elias sat in a crimson velvet armchair, wrapped in woolen blankets despite the mildness of the season. His once commanding face was pale, furrowed with deep lines of pain and exhaustion. A dry, persistent cough rattled through his frail body. "Samuel, come in, my boy," Elias rasped, his voice a ghost of the thunder it had once been. "Sir Elias," he bowed, his eyes wandering in wonder. "Your house, it's even more magnificent than the stories say. You are an example to us all, a true king." A bitter, almost imperceptible smile brushed Elias's lips. With a weak gesture toward a nearby chair, he murmured, "A king." His tone carried a quiet irony. "Tell me, Samuel, what do you see when you look at me?" "I see success, sir, the reward of a life of hard work, everything a man could ever desire." Elias studied the boy for a long moment, his clouded eyes seeming to see straight through him, diving deep into memories long buried. Samuel's naive admiration was like a mirror reflecting back his own younger self, the same hunger burning in his gaze. "Sit," the old man commanded, his voice gathering a fragment of its former strength. "Let me tell you the true cost of all this magnificence." The room fell into silence, broken only by the slow tick of a grand pendulum clock, each second marking the time Elias no longer possessed. "When I was your age, Samuel, I too looked upon wealthy men with fire in my eyes. I was born poor, the son of a farmer. The smell of wet earth, the taste of stale bread, that was my world. I swore to myself I would escape it. Gold, I thought, would be my salvation." A harsh cough shook him violently. Samuel leaned forward in concern, but Elias lifted a hand to stop him.
I started young, he continued, catching his breath. While other boys courted girls at the harvest festival, I pored over ledgers. While they sang and drank at the tavern, I was planning my next venture. I abandoned dances, friendships, twilight walks by the river. Every coin I earned was another brick in my castle, and I was obsessed with building it, stone by stone. His eyes drifted into the distance, as if watching ghosts waltz in the dimness of the chamber. There was a woman, Helen. Her hair shone like ripe wheat, and her laughter could make flowers bloom. She loved me, but she wanted time. She longed for hand-in-hand walks, for dancing beneath the stars, for a family. And I gave her coins. I gave her promises of a grand tomorrow. One day, I told her. But that one day never came. She grew tired of competing with my ambition and left, married the baker. From afar, I watched their children grow, heard the sound of their laughter echo through the village. They never had a stone palace, but they had a home. A single tear traced the weathered lines of his cheek. My body gave me warnings, Elias went on, his voice breaking. The aching back from sleepless nights, the fire in my stomach from rushed, greasy meals. The village doctor warned me, Elias, the body is like the soil. If you only strip from it and never nourish it, one day it will turn barren. I laughed at him. What could a country doctor know about ambition? I had no time for walks, no time for quiet meals. Time was money. He looked down at his trembling, age-spotted hands. And now look at me. This body I neglected for fortune has become my prison. The finest doctors in the capital, the best money could buy, tell me it is too late. The harm I sowed with decades of neglect, it cannot be undone. I would give every coin, every acre of land, just to walk to the river without this stabbing pain in my chest, just to draw a deep breath without my lungs rebelling. Samuel sat frozen, awe giving way to shock and compassion. The splendor of the room now seemed cold, suffocating. The gold on the candelabras gave no warmth. The silk sheets offered no comfort. It was nothing but a gilded cage. I built this empire, he whispered, his voice laden with regret. But for whom? I have no children to carry my name, no wife to hold my hand as the darkness closes in. The friends I once had drifted away, weary of always being second to my business. I am the richest man in Dawnfield, and the loneliest. At night, the only sound I hear is the echo of my own footsteps in these empty halls, and the ticking of that clock, reminding me of every moment I squandered. His gaze locked onto Samuel's, eyes pleading. Do you see now, boy? You admire these walls, but I would trade them for the warmth of a shared hearth. You admire my gold, but I would give it all for one more day of health, for a single afternoon with Helen, for a laugh shared with a true friend. I chased wealth, thinking it would bring me happiness, but all it bought was the most expensive loneliness in the world. The sun had fully set, and shadows wrapped the room in heavy silence. Elias's words hung in the air, immovable as stone. Samuel rose at last, no longer the wide-eyed dreamer who had entered, but a man who had just glimpsed the abyss. He looked at Elias not as a king, but as a prisoner of his own choices. Thank you, Sir Elias, he said softly, his voice reverent. As he stepped out of the grand house and into the starlit village night, Samuel drew the cool air deep into his lungs as though breathing for the first time. The faint music spilling from the tavern, the smell of bread rising from the bakery, the soft glow of lamplight in windows. Everything seemed more vivid, more precious. And he understood then, true wealth is not measured in the gold we hoard, but in the moments we live, the health we nurture, the love we share. Life was never meant to be a race toward treasure at the end of the road, but the road itself, with its flowers, its rivers, and its companions along the way. A lesson